This Tiger baseball team that had a dreadful start to its year, had not made postseason play under Tim Reiser, has now gotten 2 wins so far in the American tournament. That is the most since 2016. In a little bit, they will take on the number 1 seed, UTSA, which, by the way, in San Antonio, they took 2 out of 3 in the regular season. Maybe, just maybe, something crazy is going to happen with Memphis baseball. Pitcher David Case, 8 innings. They were down 2-0 after 1. It did not deter the Tigers. They had a 4-run second inning. They never looked back. So, with a win today against UTSA, they would get only the 1 game in today, which would really help the pitching staff. And they would have 2 cracks at the title tomorrow. If they lose to UTSA, they have to play another game tonight, so that puts a little bit of a burden on the pitching staff. So I get down in Florida. Memphis will battle in a little bit here with UTSA, and maybe something crazy is going to happen. This is sad news, and Darius Newsom in today for Landon
Good
Schmidt.
morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you. Always good to have you on board here. I'm not a big racing guy. Are you a racing guy?
No, sir, but I understand where you're headed with this.
Yeah,
sir.
this is Kyle Busch, and in I guess total disclosure here, I did not realize until I started reading all this information on Kyle Busch that he's the winningest race car driver over all 3 of the NASCAR series, their platforms.
73, is that close?
So that sounds right to me. But that would be the trucks, the Busch series, and then the NASCAR series. Most of anybody in their history passed away at the age of 41. They still have not disclosed exactly what the illness was. Now, he raced this past weekend, and I don't know if it was that race or 11 days ago where he had complained of sinusitis, and he had said with a few laps to go, when he's done, he's going to need a doctor to give him a shot for this because something was really not right with him. So that was 11 days ago. What apparently occurred on Wednesday of this past week, just a couple of days ago, he was in a simulator, and whatever illness this is took over him, and he was rushed to the hospital. I'm really not sure why they have not released any of the details. It makes you really like, what is this, Ebola? I mean, it's really kind of crazy stuff. But at the age of 41, young kids, a wife, he's a Hall of Famer, right? His legacy is forever. He's got a strong voice in the sport. He's got it made. He's a made man.
And don't forget, he has a brother in the sport as well.
And that's great. Just, man, you sit there and you shake your head. It's really a sad, sad story, because in any sport, when a major name passes, you feel something. And even though I'm not a big racing guy, my heart goes out to the sport and to his family.
Off the heels of Greg Biffle as well, and just in December. That's
right, and that was a plane crash with his family on board. So it has been a tough time for the NASCAR family. I mentioned, I'm going to start with hockey, because I love the Stanley Cup Finals. Even Charles Barkley admits that during the NBA playoffs, when he's in studio, he's going back and forth between the NBA game and the NHL playoffs. I have said on this show, I am now the biggest Montreal Canadiens fan. Blackhawks are out of it. I'm for any Canadian team to win the cup. Ice hockey, folks, is Canada's sport. They have not won a cup since 1993. That's hard to believe. Now, there's not as many Canadian teams in the National Hockey League as there are American teams.
Would they have been a Gretzky team? That 92? Would that have been
93?
93?
I'm not sure. Check that. I want to say it was Montreal, actually. When did Edmonton win their last cup with Gretzky? By the way, I really enjoyed Gretzky on the TNT broadcast. He hasn't been on for a while. All of a sudden, he was back on. It was good to see him because I do think he has pretty good insight into what's going on.
And you are correct. Montreal, they beat the LA Kings in 5 games.
Okay. So they're the last ones to win. When was the end of the Gretzky run? Because don't forget, he went to L.A. from Edmonton. The greatest hockey player of all time, without any question. Still the scoring leader of all time. Not goals anymore, because
his 4th cup was in 88.
Oh, right. So 88 was the last time that Edmonton was a winner. Anyway, last night, the home ice advantage belongs to Carolina. They have been perfect in the playoffs. They've been outstanding. They can score. They're physical. They're up against this Montreal team. Now, in defense of Carolina, they had not played in 11 days. Rough on a goalie. Certainly rough on getting your win right at the beginning of a game, even though I'm sure they were conditioning. And they scored in 33 seconds. Carolina's up 1-0. Sometimes playoffs are all about matchups, aren't they? Montreal comes right back 27 seconds later. They tie it 1-1. 1 minute in, 2 goals have been scored. Then there's a dual penalty. Now we got 4-on-4. Here's where Montreal is better than Carolina. And this is why I think they will win the series. It's easy to say that after you've taken away home ice advantage, I guess. But also, if you look at the regular season, they played 3 times. Montreal beat them all 3 times. Matchups, folks, it's important. In the 4-on-4, takes like 30 seconds. They make an error, a breakaway. It's 2-1. Within the first 4 minutes, 4 goals were scored. Montreal up 3-1. They scored a little bit later in the period. 4-1 after 1. Game over. Home ice advantage stolen away. Montreal looking good. By the way, in the other series, Colorado has home ice advantage. And those Golden Knights of Vegas, too tough. They actually manhandled Colorado in the first game. And I thought Colorado and Carolina were absolutely unbeatable when these playoffs first began.
Well, you got to think, a lot of the players on the Golden Knights has Stanley Cup final experience.
You know what?
Yeah, a lot of them.
I think if you're a modern sports historian, okay, and you're looking at expansion teams, because you know what? We could see 2 expansion teams coming in basketball real soon.
Vegas should be the gold star, right?
Well, Vegas and Seattle are going to get teams. I mean, I think that's pretty evident. The Vegas Golden Knights are the study of how you become an immediate factor right away. I mean, study it. The first year they were in, they made the playoffs. Now, some of that has to do with salary caps in the modern era. And this could happen in the NBA, where you've got a guy, let's say James Harden, who you know is aging and has a big salary. This is the perfect way to shed yourself of that salary, and you put him up, and Vegas took him. Because they wanted the experience, they were willing to pay the price for a year or 2. And that's exactly what they did. And they made the playoffs right away. And I think they might have missed 1 year since they've been in existence, Vegas, but they've made the playoffs almost every year. And they make a run. It's really a great study. And that may end up being the case when Seattle and Vegas get their teams, because I'm not saying the Grizz would give up Ja that way, because he's too valuable a piece. But I think aging veterans that are at the back end of their career with a high price tag, they'll be the ones that you'll give up. That an expansion team will go, you know what? We'll bite it for a year or two.
And you're correct. The Vegas Golden Knights have only missed the playoffs in 1 year. That was 21-22. Other than that, they've been in the ballgame.
And that was COVID year, right? 21-22. Wow. It's just a great case study that I was starting to think about. That game last night was pretty interesting. So we'll keep our eyes, because Colorado and Vegas play tonight again in Colorado. So we'll see what happens in all of that. In the meantime, Josh Hart all of a sudden found his range and hit his shots last night. You know what? The Cavs did not. Close first half. Really good game. The Cavs made 5 threes in the first quarter. They were 4. They only made 4 the rest of the way. They shot 26% from three-point range. Incredible. Their 2 designated shooters, Strus and Merrill, they were 2 of 15. Schroeder couldn't hit. None of the Cavs could shoot. Donovan Mitchell, even though he led the Cavs in scoring, he was not himself. The announcers, the coach, acknowledging to a reporter, it doesn't look like Donovan Mitchell has the explosion that makes him a great player. They're going to need him. They're going to need a lot more from Mitchell if they want to be in this series, because the Knicks appear to be just better, especially if Josh Hart, who, as part of the strategy, was left open. So, you know, they got burned by Brunson. They were attacking Harden. Harden didn't play as many minutes. And Brunson, to his great credit,
he played within the game.
He just said, okay, you're going to take that away from me? I got teammates. He had, I think, a postseason career high, 14 assists. Give him a tip of the cap. Because, you know, I heard him say this in a pregame interview. I can't remember who said, you know, you're the star. He goes, I'm not a star. What I am is a winner. That's what he said. And then he went out and proved it with incredible passing abilities and just understanding the game. And then Hart, who couldn't hit anything in the first quarter or so, just got hot.
He will have one of those games every playoff series.
Does he irritate you? I mean, if he's on your team, you love that dude.
Absolutely. He's the irritant of the team.
He's like, he knows how to embellish so well. You know what's really kind of cool, though, is that you got 3 guys that played college basketball together in college. In Hart, Brunson, and Mikal Bridges.
And, you know, they shipped off the 4th one, DiVincenzo. So.
Right. And DiVincenzo is really a heck of a player. But, I mean, that, to me, and of course they won NCAA titles with Jay Rudd as the coach. Now, I think the oldest guy is Josh Hart. I think he and Bridges only played 1 year. I think he and Brunson played 2 years. That was it. But nonetheless, I think that is a cool story. And I'm not saying this series is over, because the Cavs should have won the first game. But it just seems to me the Knicks are the better team.
Absolutely. I think it's over. If James Harden is going to give you 6 turnovers and you lose, and then the next game he's going to give you 0 turnovers and you lose, I think it's over with.
I look at James Harden, and I see an old guy.
Yeah, he is. He's done.
And he's up for a new contract next year. I think he's been exposed, unfortunately for him. He needs that expansion right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be his best bet. Byron Nelson. Koepka with a 63 yesterday. That is his best performance since he rejoined the PGA Tour. Taylor Moore, by the way, I think was leading the way today, 10 under. He's a guy from Texas, like ranked 172. They tried to make this course harder. They did a redo with Lanny Watkins. Remember, Scheffler won it last year at 31 under. I don't know how much tougher they made it, because that Koepka with a 63. I think the winner is going to end up in the mid-20s under, for sure. I don't see anything, unless there's some pin placements and crazy things that occur. It looks like it's going to be wet. It was raining yesterday when Spieth was playing. So, and the last thing on golf, and we're going to be off Monday, so I won't have a chance to talk with this about Ted Butler. The tour is very seriously talking, and Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy are proponents of this, of taking the golf ball, reducing its exit speed off a club face, basically cutting back on a driver of the distance by about 15 yards. And a lot of people thought that was going to happen. Now, with Rolap as the new CEO, he's got to do more studies. There was a big pushback from players. They don't want it. I'm okay with it. I don't think you should do that with everybody, but I think if you're playing on a PGA Tour event, you got to use a ball that would cut it down a little bit. And I'm just saying that simply because you've got all these classic, beautiful, wonderful golf courses that are now being overpowered, and there's nothing that you can do because equipment has made it so much better, and also fitness of the players. So you've got to do something. I guess you can trick up the greens, redo all these greens and trick them up and grow more rough, and maybe that's what they'll do if they keep the distance that way. For instance, at the PGA, these players were trying to overpower the golf course. The golf course got so firm at Anoramic that the ball would go into the rough. Now you've got no chance on tough greens to really have a control spin on the ball. So there are ways they could do this, and maybe that's what they got to do. They got to make greens tougher, fairways thinner, more rough on the golf course if you're going to keep the ball at the distance that it is. And players, even Scottie Scheffler, they were all making mistakes trying to use drivers when they shouldn't have. You know who didn't make that mistake? The winner, Aaron Rai. But I think sooner or later, because these guys, I believe Rory hit a 380-yard drive.
I thought it was 390. But
maybe
you're right.
it was.
I was going to say, I thought it was like 391.
It could very well have been 391. Come on, that's ridiculous. Golf courses are not designed to take 391-yard drives. Now you've got a 60-degree wedge in your hand. Come on. Anyway, interesting how they are thinking about now pushing back a little bit on really getting more study before they do it, huh? I guess that'll be the case. All right. We got a busy show. Ron Higgins is going to join us in a minute down in Baton Rouge. We'll talk a little bit about how Lane is bringing back the Eddie O Show. That and a whole lot more. Jonah Dillon will be our final guest. He wrote a really interesting story. The numbers are out on the 25 season on television and media rights distribution from the American. The U of M, which in 24 had the most money distributed in all of the group of six, by the way, was third in the American last year, the year before, even though they had won the regular season and the tournament in basketball and went to the NCAA. How did that happen? We'll see if Jonah Dillon can sort through all that. That'll come your way about 10:45. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and I'm reminding everybody the Ultimate Pool Party's still going on. There's probably some Memorial Day surprises that are coming your way, but I know this: any above ground pool starts at under $4,000. You can get an in-ground pool now. They're doing that at Family Leisure. They started under $50,000. 5-piece patio furniture sets starting at under $1,000, and those beautiful outdoor sectionals made for the weather, even when it's raining. They started under $1,300, and you get a free umbrella and a base with select patio furniture sets. And if you say us, Sports 56, you get $200 off the purchase of any spa or pool. We are underway on a rainy Friday holiday weekend. Come on back to Wolo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Old Dominick Distillery is pouring Memphis pride into every cocktail. From the winning atmosphere at its downtown Memphis distillery to award-winning craft spirits, Old Dominick is pure Memphis spirit through and through. Swing by the distillery bar for a pregame cocktail or celebrate your wins with a guided tour and tasting. Old Dominick Distillery. Come for the spirits, stay for the experience. Cheers to Memphis. Learn more at olddominick.com.
Your home is your best investment, so why not make it the best it can be with help from Gates Lumber? Start with your front door, serving two purposes, curb appeal and security. Gates has solid construction doors built for security, durability, and beauty. See and compare wood, steel, and fiberglass options side by side at Gates Showroom. It's easier to choose when you can see and touch real doors with real assistance from knowledgeable staff helping you choose the right door for your home and budget. So don't just replace your door, upgrade your protection, and Gates Lumber is the right choice. Family owned and operated, serving you for over 100 years with free estimates, free delivery, competitive prices, and quality products. Call 901-942-3201, go to gateslumber.com, or come by their showroom, 1253 South Bellevue Boulevard. Gates Lumber, celebrating over 100 years with a passion for craftsmanship since 1920.
When you're vacationing in your RV, there are some things you can always count on. Taking the kayaks out on the lake, hot dogs on the grill, and your sister's boyfriend pulling out his acoustic guitar.
Everyone quiet! Harrison's playing. Wow, you're so good, Harrison.
With Progressive, your RV is protected 24/7, so you're prepared for whatever you don't see coming. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
Hey, Mid-South, I got him on the line, Rock and Ronnie, ready to help you get your Hyundai on. At Gossett Hyundai South Mount Moriah, Rock and Ronnie, how you gonna do it?
How about this, Randy? A 2026 Hyundai Elantra SE, $203.21 a month.
You gotta love that Elantra deal. What else you got?
I've got a 2026 Hyundai Palisade SEL, $215.62 a month.
That's awesome. Hey, I hear you got a great deal on Tucson.
You better believe it, Randy. A 2026 Hyundai Tucson SE, 33 miles per gallon highway, $216.40 a month.
That's what I'm talking about, Rock and Ronnie. Plus, you get owner assurance with America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
Come see me, Rock and Ronnie, today at Gossett Hyundai South, 2660 Mount Moriah, or shop online at HyundaiMountMoriah.com.
That's Gossett Hyundai South. Rock and Ronnie will be waiting for you.
Elantra TU 188.709, MSRP 24,565, Palisade TU 096,984, MSRP 45,075, Tucson PH 69,7020, MSRP 31,805, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 895, excludes tax on license, but better see dealers for details on Palisade per month.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We're headed to Baton Rouge momentarily. Ron Higgins is standing by, our SEC historian. Brought to you by Miramichi. There's a place Ron loves. This beautiful golf course, which rain giving on Sunday. I'm going to play. I hope. I don't know. Looks kind of treacherous, but that's my plan. 25 minutes from my house. It's not in Millington. It's in Woodstock, the most beautiful place with the best practice facilities that there is. I promise you, it is incredible how you can learn there with a place to practice sand shots, a place to practice chip shots. Obviously, a huge and full driving range, which, by the way, has a members-only area. You can be a member with unlimited rounds and unlimited golf balls. I mean, it's like I'm saying, the greatest place to learn how to play. This great putting area as well. Biggest putting green I've ever seen. Anyway, it's the total golf experience, from the competitive aspect to the beautiful aspect to the clubhouse to the deck between 9 and 18, the best view in all of Shelby County. You got to go check it out. Tell them we sent you. You'll really appreciate what you can see and enjoy at Miramichi. So, I don't know if Lane Kiffin can help himself. I don't know if he just has to be in the spotlight or if this really helps him. I'm sure that it was received beautifully in Baton Rouge. The return of Ed Orgeron, a guy who won a national title as a coach there, coming back in, I'm not sure what capacity, recruiting, consulting. What's he doing, Ron Higgins? Good morning.
I'm going to be Lane Kiffin's wingman. I'm his wingman for his date. I'm his wingman. He's going to be, assistant recruiting, which he's really good at, and assistant defensive line coaching, which is probably the best thing Ed does. He's an excellent defensive line coach, excellent one-on-one coach on the defensive line. Even when he was a head coach here, he would almost every practice end up at the defensive line, and he's a hands-on one-on-one guy. Gets down in stances, gets physical, which is kind of Ed's deal. And I thought it was a good addition. I mean, they've worked together before at USC. I know when Ed took over as head coach here, he tried to get Lane as his offensive coordinator from Alabama, and Lane said, "No, thank you." Mm-hmm. But I thought it was a good hire because Lane knows Ed's strengths, and that's what those responsibilities are. I mean, in recruiting, aiding in recruiting, which Ed is, like, again, he's always been a really good recruiter, and defensive line coach, which is probably easily his strongest point.
I remember when Eddie was fired by LSU as the head coach, and he had
he was happy.
Yeah, he had like 4 years left on his deal, and it was worth like $27 million or $26 million, whatever it was. And he goes, "They want to pay me for nothing. I'm in. I'm all in." I mean, it was interesting. I'm assuming he's all paid up now because he's going back to work.
Yeah, he's all paid up. It was the happiest I've ever seen a coach being fired at the press conference when he got fired. It's like, my mama told me to make sure I got my money. And LSU paid him up. He spent the last 2 years wandering the country. I mean, basically, first was like he liked to go to a bunch of beaches and show off his tan and his physique. And then after that, he kind of wandered back to, showing up at places where he knew coaches and being around football. Miami was one because he coached there. Tulane because I think his son's coached there. So he kind of wandered back into it. And probably in recent months, he kind of wandered back to Baton Rouge and was actually really working one-on-one with some of LSU's defensive freshman linemen as a tutor. So I think this was a natural hire.
I do find him an interesting guy. I think there were a lot of reasons why he was okay with what happened. One, you're out of the pressure cooker for a little bit. Two, your legacy was set. You coached as the head guy and won a national championship. And I got a feeling deep in his heart, Ed never thought he would be in a position like that. I think he was surprised when he became the head coach at Ole Miss.
No, I think he was stunned when he could be head coach at Ole Miss. I mean, that's why he wasn't ready.
Right.
I mean, he just wasn't ready for it. At LSU, I mean, it was a natural fit. And again, I think you're right. I think, you know what? I had the best year ever in LSU football. I hit the lottery with my quarterback. I hit the lottery with the guy hired for as an assistant offensive coordinator. I don't know if it'll get better than this. And I mean, several things contribute to the factor that is really quick to mind. One, that the COVID season was immediately fall in 2019. Mm-hmm. But he also made a bunch of bad hires as offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. So a lot of guys left, and he had in 2020, 2021, which is his last 2 years, he had new coordinators each year. Most of them, they were all bad. It kind of is undoing. So in the end, I think he was like, I remember before the first game of his final year at UCLA, they lost to UCLA, and he was in the locker room screaming, they can fire me if they want to. I don't care. And he didn't. So, he took his money and he cashed in his lottery ticket. Put it that way. He cashed in his lottery ticket.
He's set for life, and now this will be great working with Lane, and they could win. Although that gets me to USA Today's preseason, and it's a long way away, Power Index. They rank Texas 1, Georgia 2, Oklahoma 3, Alabama 4. I can't remember the last time Alabama was 4. A&M 5. Ole Miss 6. And despite getting Eddie O, despite Kiffin's incredible portal class and spending all the money that they're going to spend, they are 7th. Tennessee 8, Florida 9. That's how tough SEC football is. Arkansas, by the way, Ryan Silverfield's team, picked dead last, 16. Wow. What do you make of that? And do you have do you agree with it? Do you think that's the way the order should be?
So Texas and Georgia at the top, definitely. Alabama, it's always a question. You don't know what you want to get with them. Who's the fourth one?
Oklahoma.
Maybe not.
Oklahoma was 3 and Alabama was 4.
Yeah, and I question 3 and 4. We'll see how Ole Miss does without Lane as coach.
So you think Pete Golding's a step down?
I do. I just think that obviously, Ole Miss folks are happy with him. So I do. I think there remains to be seen if he's a really good coach without him as far as recruiting and managing the program. But we'll see. He may be perfect for him. LSU club right there. Yeah, I say there's a little bit of some questions because Sam Levitt didn't practice at all in the spring. He's supposed to be going to be ready for the fall. Now you got 60 new players almost, and and their schedules are brutal. Their schedule is absolutely brutal. They got Chocolate Clemson, they got Louisiana Tech, and they play Ole Miss the third week, which is like the game of the year as far as the hate factor.
Oh yeah. That's going to be fun to watch. That.
Yeah, but down the stretch, I think they have Alabama. I think in 3 weeks in a row, Alabama, Texas, and Tennessee, and then Arkansas at the end in November. And no matter where, I know Arkansas is ranked last, but Arkansas and LSU in November and Fayetteville. LSU hates that playing in Fayetteville in November. They just hate it. So I can see LSU is 6 or 7 because of the schedule. It's really, really hard, and the fact that you got a mostly new team and they got to come together almost immediately. So I understand that.
If this plays out in Tennessee is 8th, what's the future of Josh Heupel? Which, by the way, I think is a heck of a coach.
I think Heupel's a really good coach. I don't know. They seem to be right there. They've had. He's had good quarterbacks. He's had not so good quarterbacks, and I think he reminds me a lot of Kiffin in the sense that and Hugh Freeze in this sense. He's got to have a good quarterback for them to be good.
Right. And
that sounds stupid. Like you think everybody needs a great quarterback. But especially in their offenses, they need a really good quarterback to be good, and to be smart and be playmaker and just make all the throws. And especially in offenses where not so much Tennessee, but especially LSU and Hugh was coaching, they run so many plays so quick, and the plays going. They try to run in a high speed tempo as much as possible. You've got to have a quarterback to be able to handle all that, and I think that's essential for Tennessee. And I think the same thing at LSU and Ole Miss. Of course, Ole Miss Lane stumbled onto a gym in Trinidad Chambliss, and that's the reason they were in the playoffs last year. He was the reason.
No question about that. And that was really stumbling because if there hadn't been an injury, that wasn't going to happen. So that was wild. Tony Petitti and the Big Ten have drawn a line in the sand. They want a 24-team playoff. They're not going to accept a 16-team playoff. The only other alternative would be to keep it at 12. That's what he's saying. How will Greg Sankey and the SEC and all the presidents and chancellors in that league, how are they going to take that? What do you think is going to happen next week in Destin?
I think the SEC says, well, but they want 24 or 12, and we can't have 16, we're going to stay at 12. I mean, I don't think they want to go to 24, and honestly, my opinion is there's not 24 teams in the nation worth going to play for a national championship.
And it would eliminate championship games, which I think are good. Most of them, well, I shouldn't say, certainly the Big Ten and the SEC, they make money. Big 12, I think it makes money in its championship game. I don't know about the American, but at least that game gives the American or the Mountain West, those were the two at the moment. Now that'll be different with the Pac-12, but it gave them a chance to get into the playoff if they won that particular game, which made for a lot of interest building up the whole season long. I think between all those alternatives, I like that the best. I like the 12 because at least the group of 6 now has a chance to get in. And if it's 24, they're not getting any more in. It's all for the Big Ten and the SEC teams.
And I think it just waters down the process. I don't think there are 24 teams who are deserving to play for a national championship.
Yeah, 8 and 4 teams are in.
Yeah, I can see 16. I can, because I think there were enough programs on the perimeter of 12 to who I thought they could get in. But 24 teams, that's ridiculous. And also, I think there's a value to championship games for SEC. It's a huge moneymaker. And that helps SEC budget, so it's a moneymaker. But also, I'm just saying, we have 24 teams. How many games these people have to play to win a national championship? This is not a pro schedule. I know guys are being paid.
Well, the 2 teams that play in the championship game would play in 5 rounds, 5 additional games. So that would be 17. That would be almost like that's the regular season of the NFL, 17.
Again, that's ridiculous. It's not good for the players. It's not good for the fans of these teams in the playoffs who would like to go to these games. There's no way they have enough money laying around to go to these games. And so it's like, I know that the presidents may look at this like, well, it's a great moneymaker. Well, yeah, it might be, but what I'm saying is that how much do you have to do to determine the national championship? What do you have to? How many people do you have to tax to get there? As far as budget, as far as fatigue factors of players, and again, I know they're being paid. I know they're professionals at this point, but to me, it just doesn't matter because I think it's just way too much for these people.
It is interesting to me. The Big 12 and the ACC have gone along with this. I know the Big 10 wants Fox involved. That's part of their reasoning too. But I tend to think this is where Sankey and the SEC are going to really kind of butt heads with the Big 10, and I got a feeling it's going to stay at 12. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. Ron Higgins, have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we will chat again in your usual time slot next Tuesday.
I will say this. Miramichi is the prettiest course I've ever thrown a club into a lake in. Okay?
Trees and lakes. You were famous. There's no question about that. Thank you, Ron.
All right, well, I'll see you.
That's our guy, our SEC historian in Baton Rouge. That is Ron Higgins. He's brought to you in part by Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf, whether it's competing on the golf course like Miramichi, maybe the baseball diamond like they are down in Hoover, maybe the gridiron or even the hardwood. If you follow your competition, Sheldon's going to tell you you're always behind. Sheldon with Mark Spensdorf Realtors, who, by the way, is the worst golfer in town, tells people that selling a home is exactly like the competition you face in sports. If you don't have a good coach, good guidance, and a strategic plan like he has, and he works that plan, you'll head to the lockers, losing out to the other homes selling while you sit. You don't get to the closing table. And with the steady interest rates There is a lot of activity in the market, and the inventory has actually increased, so it's even more important to get into the best position before the game starts. Want to get a better price or sell quicker? Call the guy that does it. He's been doing it for 40 years. He works at 365 24/7, and he's got the strategy. You call Sheldon Rosengarten. You reach him at memphisrelocate.com or call 483-0546. I bet he answers by the second ring. That's Sheldon, 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. We're relocating downtown with the Cadillac beat writer of the Tigers football team for the Commercial Appeal. That is Jonah Dillon, and he is next.
Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Available locally on your radio dial as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, it's easy to stay tuned to Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You know that feeling when something is supposed to be complicated and then it's not? That's the Dobbs Brothers way. For your new Chevrolet, there's no games, no runaround, no surprises, just straight answers from people who actually mean them. Buying a car shouldn't feel like a battle, and at Dobbs Brothers Chevrolet, it doesn't. Trust, transparency, and driving our community forward. That's the Dobbs Brothers way. Shop Dobbs Brothers Chevrolet of Bartlett today.
Hi, I'm Ryan Saharovich, a proud partner with NST Injury Attorneys. For over 35 years, we've been fighting for Memphis families after serious accidents when insurance companies are trying to pay as little as possible. If you've been injured, the call is free, and you don't pay unless we win.
NST is the way to go. Call 68370.
NST is the way to go. Call 683-7000 or visit nstlaw.com.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. I wanted to take a minute and discuss advertising with you. There are so many websites that list the best service provider in your area. Even the BBB has an accredited list. You know the one thing they all have in common? A company like mine has to pay to get on that list. So that begs the question, can those lists be trusted? You know what can be trusted? History. We've been around for almost 30 years providing customers with the best service and the best products that we possibly can. So if you need a roof, siding, or gutters, give us a call. We'll come talk to you and let you decide for yourself whether or not we know what we're talking about. Fiveash Roof Services. Best products, best warranties, and in many cases, the best price. We're fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Hey, Mid-South, I got him on the line, Rockin' Ronnie, ready to help you get your Hyundai on. At Gossett Hyundai South Mount Moriah, Rockin' Ronnie, how you gonna do it?
How about this, Randy? A 2026 Hyundai Elantra SE, $203.21 a month.
You gotta love that Elantra deal. What else you got?
I've got a 2026 Hyundai Palisade SEL, $215.62 a month.
That's awesome. Hey, I hear you got a great deal on Tucson.
You better believe it, Randy. A 2026 Hyundai Tucson SE, 33 miles per gallon highway, $216.40 a month.
That's what I'm talking about, Rockin' Ronnie. Plus, you get owner assurance with America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
Come see me, Rockin' Ronnie, today at Gossett Hyundai South, 2660 Mount Moriah, or shop online at HyundaiMountMoriah.com.
That's Gossett Hyundai South. Rockin' Ronnie will be waiting for you.
Electric TU 188.79, MSRP 24.565, Palisade TU 96.984, MSRP 45.75, Tucson DH 69.7020, MSRP 31.805, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 895, excludes tax on license, approved credit, CD list with details on eligibility for month, use by month.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We are heading downtown in a minute to talk with Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. I think he's the Cadillac of the beat writers, and he's brought to you by Landers Cadillac of Memphis. You know, this is true with every one of these Landers dealerships. You are going to get the most money for your trade. They always pay top dollar. They always, especially at Landers Cadillac of Memphis, have all the newest, the latest, the greatest. The standard for any kind of car is Cadillac. And they've got so many new cars in that beautiful, pretty much brand new showroom. They took a while to remodel, and now it's there, and it is gorgeous. You can save so much money if you go with the Landers Easy Pass. Just go to at CadillacofMemphis.com. Learn how to make even more savings that way, and there are some exceptional offers going on right now. You know the best new Cadillacs, they all sell so fast. And remember, if it doesn't say Landers, you paid too much. Jonah Dillon, you wrote a really interesting story today on revenue from 25. This would be the year the Tigers basketball team won both the regular season and the tournament, so they went to the NCAA. They had a decent football season, that's for sure. And yet, after leading the group of 6 in 24 in all revenue streams from the media distributions, they were third in their own conference in the American with, believe it or not, East Carolina 1 and South Florida 2. I guess my first question for you is, how the heck did that happen?
Well, we've asked, obviously, the way that money is distributed from conferences to teams in a lot of situations, some do it pretty evenly, and it's like everybody gets a certain share, or you have teams coming in, especially with conference realignment, where it's like they get a 50% share or some sort of percentage, whatever it is. With the American, they kind of distribute money the way that they want to, and they haven't always said exactly how they're doing it, which is fine, and that's not necessarily unique. A lot of other conferences do similar things. And Memphis was third, but obviously, close to where USF and ECU were ahead of them. ECU is a team that's obviously been in this conference for a long time and has had a lot of success in various sports, but people don't consider them to be, the top level of the conference in terms of spending usually, especially with football, not really at the level of the South Florida's and Memphis is, and maybe even the Tulanes and other teams like that. So it's definitely interesting. It's interesting that Memphis is no longer at the top, and then obviously elsewhere, Boise State received way more money from their conference in that year. But obviously that has to do with going to the college football playoff, and that's another illustration of, because that's the year that Boise State went to the playoff, another illustration of how much that stuff matters and how much you can benefit financially from football success. And also, I wrote this in the story, the amount that football success has on, the ability that has to affect your financial reality compared to basketball, right? Because like you said, Memphis had a really good basketball season that year. It doesn't have the same effect as going to the college football playoff because of the way that football matters when we talk about finances.
Well, I know the Mountain West had a good year this past revenue stream because I read it in your article, but that had to do with the exit fees from, in particular, Boise, because they left for the Mountain West, for the Pac-12, and they had to give a bunch of money to those teams. So that upped their value. I think they each got $13 million, didn't they, those Mountain West teams?
Yeah, I mean, that one is complicated because the Mountain West situation with the settlement with the Pac-12 and all that, which is still going on and wasn't resolved by that point yet. So that's still, it's tough with these things because obviously we get them almost a year later, right? And so a lot of this is still going on. And for example, when we get next year's report for the American, Tulane almost certainly will be at the top because of the college football playoff. They went to the playoff. That means a lot of money came in, and the understanding is that they're going to get all the money the conference got and be able to keep that. So that's going to be a big effect on their bottom line. Once again, if you have that kind of success on the field in football, it's going to affect you in a really positive way. And so that is a reality of, yes, some of this stuff, we don't know exactly how it works. We don't know how they decide who gets the most money. But if you go to the playoff of football, it's going to be very beneficial for you from a financial perspective.
It's fascinating, and I know Tulane because they'll get the majority of the distributions that come out from the playoff. That they will be number one by far. East Carolina, this is where I'm scratching my head. Now, I know East Carolina football in the past, if you go back to the days of like Steve Logan before he left for Georgia Tech, they were drawing huge crowds. In fact, they've expanded their stadium since then because they were doing so well. They were drawing like 50,000 people per game. They have a chance to really be a big football draw, but they hadn't in 24. So that's where, like, how do they get 12.6 million? USF got 12.4 million. Okay, that might have been a good year for USF in football. I think, isn't that the year that Memphis had to play them in Orlando because of the storm that was in Tampa? I'm trying really hard to remember. Yeah. So, and they were a good team. So I can kind of buy that. I just don't get East Carolina at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I know a lot of people look at this and they say, like, why isn't this being distributed based on how well teams did? And obviously then you can argue about what sports matter and how teams really did and stuff like that. Ultimately, they don't have to do that, and it doesn't appear that they are doing that, right? Because it's not like this is just in order of who had the most success in terms of all your sports. Now, ECU, you have to also mention when we talk about sports, it hasn't been great the past couple of years, but baseball has been a powerhouse for ECU. And just when you talk about the greater context of how all these teams do, if you count every sport, that's obviously important. But yeah, look, these things are not. It's not super straightforward in terms of how this is decided. And again, it is close. It's not like a runaway situation where one school's way ahead of everybody else. But look, it's not like Memphis is getting paid way more. What I think is interesting is this is the year when in the fall of 2024, right, we had all that rumor about the Pac-12, and then Memphis and those other schools ultimately decide to stay. And I think there was discussion at that point when they made that decision about maybe they made a financial deal to remain. Now, Ed Scott at the time said that wasn't true, and he said that there was no deal. This illustrates that again, because if there was a deal, obviously you would have seen them getting more payout here. And that's not just Memphis, that's the other schools as well that decided to say UTSA, South Florida, and Tulane.
Well, three of the top four are USF, Memphis, and Tulane, which were the ones that were being courted to go to the Pac-12. East Carolina was not. It just comes down to this, and I hadn't thought about it, but I would bet if we go back and look, East Carolina made the College World Series that year. There has to be some baseball money in that they got from the College World Series. And maybe they even hosted a regional or something like that. Otherwise, I don't see how they could have gotten to the $12.6 million. Now, South Florida's 12.4 and Memphis is 12. So like you say, it's not a big difference. But when you see East Carolina, I guess you got to figure in baseball. That's got to be it.
Yeah, again, like they can decide to give people money however they want, or give schools money however they want, obviously. So it's not necessarily, hey, you won this many games in this sport, we're going to give you this much money. And ECU has been a successful member of this conference for a long time. That's part of it. And so again, they're making their decisions the way they want to make them, and we don't know the conversations that are going on behind the scenes. But again, like it's not. ECU has been near the top, so it's not like, obviously they jumped a lot, but a lot of these schools, especially those ones at the top, are close to each other, and they have been the past couple of years in terms of their revenue distribution. So it's not crazy that they're up there, and again, close to everyone else. But yeah, there you go. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, obviously, moving forward. Like I said, you would expect Tulane to be at the top next year, and then it obviously depends on football success. If any team is going to the playoffs from this conference every year, they're going to end up being at the top of that list.
Since you mentioned playoffs, Charles Huff came out and said he's not for a 24-team playoff, which would do away with championship games, and you'd have watered down 8-4 teams playing in the playoffs. Your thoughts on what might happen with all of that, and Charles Huff, who's very outspoken on a lot of different things here this past week.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I think when you look at his comments, a lot of people look at it and say, well, why wouldn't you want the expanded playoff? Because then more teams from the group of six will get in. Because if you look at the rankings and you just took the teams based on where they ended up ranked, then there would be more group of six teams. But I think we have to think about it, in reality in terms of what's going on in college football. If the playoff was expanded to 24 teams, it's very unlikely that there would be a situation where they would allow more group of six teams, or at the very least, they wouldn't give auto bids to those teams. It's not like every conference is going to have an automatic bid into the tournament. I think that would be great, but I don't think that's realistic. No. I think you're going to just end up with more auto bids.
If there were just though, if we laid that out on paper, it would be cool. They'd never do this because this is all for the Big Ten and the SEC. But if you did a 24, there's 11 conference different that play Division I football. You could have 11 conference winners, and then you'd still have 13 at large that would all belong to the Power Four. But that is never going to happen. I'm with you. This is all built for 8-4 mid-range SEC and Big Ten teams, maybe some ACC teams and Big 12 teams in there too, just to get them in and more money for them.
Yeah, and I think that's also the implication of what Charles Huff was saying. I think he understood that, because when he's talking about 8-4 teams, he's not talking about 8-4 group of six teams, right? Like that's not the situation. And I think if he believed that, because you're seeing a lot of coaches across college football come out in favor of the 24-team playoff. And in a lot of situations, the reason is because if you go to the playoff as a coach, then you can say, well, we had a good season, went to the playoff, regardless of how many teams are in it, right? So you want playoff expansion because, A, you want to be able to say you went to the playoff, and B, who knows what's going to happen when you get in there? Because as Charles Huff said, and I think a lot of people agree with it, it really has become a test of endurance more than talent or ability, right? In terms of getting through this. And so if you're 8-4, you get into the playoff, you give yourself a shot. People are getting injured. You never know what's going to happen. So obviously you want to be in there. But I think Charles Huff's comments kind of prove that he doesn't believe that if the playoff was expanded, there would necessarily be more access for Memphis or for any group of 6 team. And so if it is going to be only one spot for the group of 6, you'd rather it be 12 because obviously there's more prestige there of making the field and having an opportunity immediately to play against, a really high-level team. Assuming you're the 12th seed in the bracket, you're gonna be in a huge game right off the bat, and you're obviously gonna want that experience.
Well, and it keeps the importance of your championship game, which keeps your regular season, I think, a little bit more important. And let's be honest, if it's an 8-4 Tennessee team up against a 10-2 East Carolina, who do you think's getting in?
Yeah,
that's an at-large.
Yeah, exactly. Those at-large spots are almost always going to go to the power conference.
There's no doubt about that. John and Dylan, as always, it's a pleasure talking to you. I'll talk to you next Friday. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
Yep, you as well.
Thank you. That's Jonah Dillon from the Commercial Appeal. He's brought to you by Southern Security. Need cash? You can refinance your auto loan with Southern Security. Have no payment for 60 days. Southern Security, they'll finance up to 115% of the current value of your vehicle. That's for up to 72 months. To find out how you can put more cash in your pocket, you can call and talk to a human being at Southern Security. They got 7 locations, by the way. 452-7900. That's the number. Or go to the website, southernsecurity.org. Southern Security, that's your home team credit union, the best credit union voted by you the last 6 years and federally insured by NCUA. Have a great Memorial Day weekend for all of you who served. My sincere thanks for that. Johnny Radio's right around the corner. We'll see you on Tuesday.